Hey, it's me, the DBB, and today is a special edition podcast called KK Got Way Too Busy Yesterday, couldn't get her podcast done on a Wednesday, so now she's doing it on a Thursday right before she has to leave for work. So, actually dressed and ready today, which is kind of a nice change of pace from the last two episodes. But today, I did a poll. I like having you guys involved. If you don't follow my Instagram at the Delicate Bad Bee, make sure you go follow it because I really like to get community feedback. I want to know what you think of the podcast. I want to know what you think about my YouTube channel. I want to know what you want to hear more of or what you want to hear less of or how you want the camera angles, whatever. I want this to be a community, not just me talking to a camera once a week and you listen to whatever I feel like talking about. So, yesterday, I did ask the Instagram page, what do you want to hear about? And this one got the most votes. So today's topic is what you feed grows and what you starve dies. Which it sounds like a lot of you guys are just looking for good mindset stuff lately. You know, I'll put stuff on there. Do you want to hear about motherhood? Do you want to hear about single life? Do you want to hear about this, that? And every time so far, people are voting that they want to work on their mindset. And I'm totally great with that because I love talking about changing your mindset. And this is what I used to do for 10 years is train on things like this. So I really enjoy these topics. So great choice. But today is about what you feed grows and what you starve dies. And once again, this topic goes hand in hand with last week's topic and the topic before that. So if you haven't listened to my last couple podcasts on Spotify or on my YouTube channel, make sure you go check them out because they all are kind of linking together. It's like a series, like an unintentional series, which I love. In fact, maybe I'll group them as a little series. But I do have notes today, but mainly I'm going to be off the cuff. But I'm trying to stay on track and not make it super long like last week so I can get out the door and to work on time. So back when I was in direct sales, multi-level marketing, whatever you want to call it, there was a gal by the name of Jenny Donnelly who actually I named this beautiful wall art that you can't see the full thing. I named it Donnelly after her because she is one of the most inspiring women that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting and learning from. But she said one time in a training, your life will go in the direction of your most dominant thought. And so I want you to think about that for a second. What does that mean to you? Your life will go in the direction of your most dominant thought. And I started thinking about that this morning as I was getting ready, and it stuck with me for over a decade. The first time I heard this phrase, I think I was 21. I think I was pregnant with my second kiddo. And it really stuck with me. I still think about it all the time. And I think about where are my dominant thoughts right now? What am I focused on? And sometimes I'll notice myself going down this path of how I'm feeling or how I'm acting or things I might be doing that maybe aren't in alignment with who I want to be or how I want to act. And I'll tell myself, girl, you're letting yourself go in this direction because you've been thinking about it too much. And so you ever notice how life has a funny way of giving you what you're looking for? You could literally be thinking about how you want to get a Frenchie as she's laying by my feet. And suddenly there's Frenchies everywhere, right? Or maybe you want to get a new car. I have people tell me this all the time at work. You want to get a new car. And all of a sudden that car is at every red light. You're seeing that car everywhere you go. You can't get it off your mind because your brain's showing it to you because you have fixated and you have decided, I want a dog or I want a new car. And because that's the dominant thought in your head in that moment, the universe is going to keep showing you all these things so that it just feels inevitable. I need the dog or I need the car. But it doesn't even have to be something like that. Those are wants, right? Those are just like surface level examples, chasing endorphins to get something new. You can think of it in ways like, for me, when I had horrible cystic acne, it was something that I was completely fixated on. Every day I'd get up and before my eyes would open, I would touch my face. Is it still there? Did it go away? Is it gone? Which was probably contributing to the acne getting worse now that I know so much about acne. I think I'm an acne expert at this point. But I wake up every morning. That was my first thought of the day, just touching my face. Is it still there? Every day I'd look in the mirror. I'd poke them, I'd pop them, I'd touch them, I'd go get different creams, different this, different that, because it's all I was fixated on. Sometimes I wonder, I mean, yes, it was really bad when I had it, but sometimes I wonder if it just kept getting worse because I was so convinced of how bad it was. When I look back at the pictures where I first started developing some little pimples here and there, it was nothing. But in my head, it was horrible and it was cystic. And guess what? Within 6 months of those first few pimples, it was horrible and it was cystic. And I can't help but wonder if that's why it got that bad, because it's all I thought about. It's all I focused on. It's all I tried to fix. And I tried so hard. It just got worse and worse and worse because I told myself every morning how horrible my face was. Every day I woke up and I was like, this is horrible. It's worse. It's not good. It's never going to get better. And then it got worse and worse and worse. Do you know the second I stopped caring about my face, I swear, I still get pimples. I have them right now. I swear my face started clearing up. Yes, I do these things every month, like the IPL lasers and everything. But at the end of the day, even when it was at its worst, I was doing these things. But I just stopped caring. I think that's the difference. I wasn't focused and fixated on it as much. Same thing goes with weight. When I was focused, like back when I sold weight loss products, and I was focused, depends on which way I was looking at it. Either I was focused on how big I was and how awful I was and how the scale isn't moving and wah. Every day I'd wake up and I'd look at myself in the mirror and I'd be like, girl, you don't look good. Like this isn't even working for you. You shouldn't even post today, blah, blah, blah. Or sometimes I'd wake up, look in the mirror and go, dang girl, you're doing great. You should post your pictures today, right? And I feel like the way I framed it in my head, which goes along with last week, is how it continued to grow, right? If I told myself, you're getting too big, your clothes don't fit right, none of your clothes look good on you, then I felt like I kept getting bigger and the scale wouldn't move. When I stopped caring about my weight over the last 2 years, and I really don't care that much, my weight has not changed at all. It's crazy, but your life goes in the direction of your most dominant thought, right? And it can either be positive and awesome, like, dang, I look good, and oh, my skin's fine, I don't care anymore. It is what it is, right? Or it could be, my skin's horrible and I'm so sad, or oh my God, I just keep gaining weight, right? So those are some examples as well. Like I said, goes hand in hand, stopping spirals and flipping negative thoughts. But this one's literally about what you're putting in your brain and what you're feeding it on a daily basis. So I want to talk about what you're feeding in your life and what you need to starve out in your life so that it can go the way you want it to go. So for a minute, I want you to just think, what are you feeding yourself right now? Are you feeding your brain politics? Are you feeding your brain scary movies and scary stuff and the TikTok channels and the Instagrams that show you all the horrible things going on in the world? Are you feeding your brain Jesus and the Bible and going to church and worship music? Are you feeding your brain positive podcasts like the Mel Robbins one of my favorites, the Huberman Labs? Are you feeding your brain things you want to be better at? Are you focusing on what you want to be better at? Are you focusing on learning new things and creating new habits? Or are you focused on laying around, being tired, and scrolling through Instagram? What are you feeding yourself on a daily basis, right? I want you to even write this down. Like, if we want to get action steps on the podcast, write it down. What do you feel you are feeding yourself every day? I think sometimes it's important to remember that you are the one in charge of your brain. And yes, there's so many things that go into account for every person's brain. Everybody's different. And again, guys, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not anything. I have no degree. These are all just, I call it case-spective. This is my thoughts on life. This is how I think and feel. And it's things that have helped me in the last decade or so become a better version of myself that I'm always working on every day. But this is not scientific in any way. I'm sure there is science to back it, but this is me just giving you perspective. Every brain's different. Everybody has different chemical makeup, right? Everybody has different things, different traumas, different triggers, different things that have made them think and feel the way that they do. So I'm not discrediting when I say you are the one who's in charge of your brain, that sometimes it really doesn't feel like it. Sometimes it feels like your brain's in charge of you. And we talked about that last week as well, if you want to listen to last week's episode. But my dad has always told me, he says it all the time. And if you know anything about what my family has been going through the last few months, he actually just had a huge brain tumor removed, and he is doing the fight right now of getting better from that. But he always says, even now as he's going through this, the hardest battles you will ever fight are the ones between your ears, right? Mental battles are harder than any physical battles. Everything in life is just mental, right? So you really have to work daily on mastering your brain. And that all is going to start on what you're feeding it and what you're putting into it and what you're growing and starving out what you want to die, right? I'm still on the journey. I don't think the journey ever ends of self-improvement and getting better and all these things that I'm talking about. I'm literally in the trenches with you guys every day. I always joke and say I'm really great at listening and I'm really good at giving advice to other people, but I have a really hard time taking my own sometimes, which I think is just how life goes. When I do take my own advice, man, it works good. But I'll say in December, I really had this, I don't know if I would call it a defining moment or just like this moment where I just realized I was done, like with all the things I'd been feeding. For the last 6 months, I was not a good version of myself. I got promoted at work and put myself in an environment that just wasn't probably a great fit for me at this time. The same week I got promoted, my nanny quit. I was in some big fights with my ex-husband. My dad found out he had a brain tumor, which shook our whole family to its core. There was a lot. I honestly laugh because I learned back when I did my first coaching session. I learned that when there's a lot of going on or any trauma, the definition of trauma is something that happens that your brain can't process. Like you just can't process it right away, quickly, right? I had a lot of traumatic things happen at once. And when you're going through stuff like that, sometimes you do what's called disassociating, which is where you're on autopilot. And I look back on moments where I'm like totally disassociated and I wasn't aware of it at the time. And it's like, I can't even remember like all the things that happened. I just know it was like bang, 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 bang. Like I could not catch a break. Every day, one of my kids getting in trouble. I got calls from the school every day that one of my kids got in trouble. Sports were going on. Like it was just every day I'd get to work, I'd sit in my chair and I'd tell myself I was fighting the battle. And I'd be like, today's going to be a good day. You got this. Everything's okay. Just focus on work, control what you can control. And every day it felt like life was like, sit down, girl. You're not going anywhere. We're going to punch you back down. Right. Which was how I felt. And so I was probably manifesting some of it like we're talking about today. That's what I was feeding is I can't catch a break. And so then I couldn't catch a break because I kept feeding it. Right. Anyway, for the last 6 months, I have been a version of myself that I have not liked. I have been making decisions I wouldn't say are conducive to who I want to be. I would say that I have been thinking and feeling and allowing things into my life that are not in alignment with who I'm trying to become. And we're all human and we go through ups and downs, which we'll talk about on another episode, probably next week. Don't get too high in the highs, too low in the lows, but we all go through ups and downs in every era of our life, mentally, physically, emotionally. It's called being human. Okay. So the last 6 months, not my favorite version of myself. And there's a lot of stuff that I was allowing, right? So there's another saying by Jenny Donnelly, and it's, what you tolerate, you give permission to exist, right? So if I'm tolerating all of these things in my life, I'm giving them literal permission to exist in my life and in my brain. And I was doing that with a lot of things in the last 6 months. And so December came around, and full disclosure, the holidays are when me and my ex-husband have the most fights. So awful because it's when I wish we had the least amount of fights, but for whatever reason, hopefully not anymore, but this last year, we had to have a really big talk about it because every year since we got divorced, it's been a fight over time and the kids and who gets them when, and just ugly. It just gets ugly. And we're usually pretty cordial, but Christmas time, man, we are not. And so throw that in with all the other heightened emotions of my entire family and everything else going on with my dad. And I'm just a bitch. Like, I don't even know how to say it in a better way. Like, I'm just done. Work is stressing me out. I'm negative. I've got some relationships in my life that were stressing me out and causing me to be negative. I've got the ex-husband that I'm getting stressed out by causing me to be negative. Like, just so many things. And it finally bubbled up to this point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore, man. I'm tired. Like, I'm tired of having to get mad. I'm tired of letting other people control my mood of the day. I'm tired of letting situations in life that I can't control me. And so in that moment, I realized that's what I've been feeding. I've been feeding the negativity and it's just growing bigger and bigger. And I've been feeding other people's feelings and other people, how they're treating me and how other people are talking to me and work and the things going on at work that I can't control. I'm just feeding all of it. And none of it was positive. When I started noticing when I was getting on the phone with my mom or my friends, I got nothing good to say. And I'd catch myself and be like, okay, KK, like you're a positive person. You are a good influence. Why are you talking like this? Like I was upsetting myself because I was catching it, just like we talked about last week, but it's because it's all I was feeding. And it's hard when you have so much happening at once and it's all feels negative. It's gonna have an effect on you, but you have to get to the point where you say no more. Okay. And it can take you a few months, like it did for me. It could take you a day, it could take you weeks, it could take you years. But you have to reach the point where you say, no more of this. I'm done. I am not feeding into this anymore. If they're negative, I'm positive. There's a saying about if you get on the elevator and other people get on with you, you want to be the person on the elevator who brings them up. You don't want them to bring you down, right? I'm not letting anybody bring me down levels on the elevator anymore. You're coming up with me and I'm going to have my days. And I do. But I just realized I was the person bringing people down and my mind was bringing me down. And that's all I was feeding every day. And so in December, I know everybody has the new year, new mindset, new me mentality, right? And I love that about the new year. But this time I really meant it. I decided in 2024, I was leaving behind the things I did not want to feed anymore. I was starving them out. The negativity and the hostility in my co-parenting relationship with my ex-husband, I'm tired. I don't want to carry it anymore. I don't want to feed it anymore. So I decided that's something I'm starving and I left it in 2024 and we've been on great terms. We had a chat about it. This has been the best our relationship has been since middle of our marriage. Like finally, it's like my co-parenting relationship feels I can breathe. And it seems like he can too. And you know what's happening? That's leaking into all areas of our lives. Good things are happening in his life. Good things are happening in my life. Good things are happening for the kids because we're not feeding the negative co-parenting relationship, right? I decided to leave some relationships in 2024 that were no longer serving me. I decided to step down from my finance position at my previous job because it wasn't serving me anymore. It was feeding the negativity. It was pulling me down. It was making me feel worse and like a battle I didn't have to fight every day, right? And I decided to step away from something that was one of the hardest things I've ever had to step away from. But it's all because I knew the person I was from probably September until January was not the person I want to be. And the only way to change that and get back on track is to starve the things that are not in alignment with the direction I want my life to head, right? There's a movie called Idiocracy. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but essentially it's where it feels like it's happening sometimes. But it's where humanity just gets dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber because of technology. And I've only seen it once and it was years ago. But what stuck with me is they kept saying electrolytes. It's what the plants crave. And they were killing all the plants because they didn't know plants needed water to survive. They were feeding them electrolytes, which is not what the plants need, right? And so I guess the point of that is, what are you feeding yourself? Are you giving yourself what your brain doesn't need to get you on path to where you want to go? Are you feeding your plants electrolytes when all they need is water and sunshine, right? Or are you giving yourself the good fertilizer and the water and the sunshine? You're talking to yourself. You know, plants, there's actual scientific studies that show if you sing to plants or talk positively to plants, they'll grow better and prettier and stay alive longer or whatever. You'll go look it up. I'm not the one. But your brain's the same thing. What are you feeding it? What environment are you putting yourself in to grow? What do you want to grow and what do you want to starve? Okay. Like that's what I want you to think about. If you want your brain garden to grow and be pretty and get you in alignment of where you want to go in life, you got to start picking the weeds, right? You You got to start picking out the weeds. And like we talked about last week, maybe it's people, maybe it's your work environment, maybe it's thoughts, maybe it's the way you're acting. No one can control how you act but you. And a lot of people will say, well, I did that because of them, which this could be a whole other podcast. No, you did that because of you. You don't control what's going on in life. You can't control what someone's going to say. You can't control what someone's going to think. You can't control what someone's going to act, how someone's going to act. You can't control what happens at work. You can control how you respond and how you think and feel. That's what you have control over, even on the hard days. It's harder because it's easy to just say, yeah, screw this. This sucks. This is stupid. It's work. It's that person's fault. I'm the victim, blah, blah, blah. It's easy to just fall into that because, like we talked about last week, your brain is wired toward negativity. What's harder and what's the path that most people won't take because it takes more effort is the path that says, okay, stop, pause. This person said and did this. How do I want to think and feel about it before you react, right? Which is, again, a whole other podcast on its own, but you are in charge of your brain is the point here. So again, what you feed will always grow. You feed your dog as she's laying by my feet, she's going to get bigger. You feed your plants, they're going to grow. You feed your kids, they're going to grow big and strong, right? What you feed will always grow, and what you starve will always die. So think about the life you want. Think about the person you want to be. Think about the money you want in your bank account. Think about the body you want. Think about the way you want to speak. What are you doing today that's going to feed those goals to help you get to where you want to be? And what are some things in your life right now that you can starve and weed out? What can you get rid of? Getting rid of things is hard. Even if you're a hoarder, like I'm making Goodwill piles right now, like getting rid of things can be hard, right? Hardest battle you'll ever fight between your two ears. But what can you starve out today? Maybe you start with something little, right? Just something small. Maybe it's TV. I don't even watch TV anymore unless I'm with a friend and they want to watch a movie. Like I have starved out TV. Scrolling, starved out a lot of it. I delete my apps every few months. When I start feeling like I'm on my apps too much, I'll just delete them because then I feel like I cleanse myself of the addiction again. And then I don't have them on my home screen, right? That's something, social media was something I wanted to starve out for a while until I got to a healthy point with it, which I feel I'm at now. But starving those things out when you need to, delete them off your home screen, give yourself limits on it, right? Starving out negative people, starving out the toxic work environment you might be in. Ask yourself what is causing you to feel down and starve out the negative thoughts. And then start asking yourself, what can I feed my brain today that's going to help me get where I want, right? They always say, if you don't know what you want in 5 years, you're already there. If you don't know where you want to be in 5 years, you're already there, right? So I want to challenge you today to think about who you want to be, who you see yourself being in 5 years. Think about where you're at right now and ask, if your life was exactly the same in 5 years, would you be happy? If you felt the way you feel today in 5 years, how your brain's working, how you're feeling, how you're thinking, if it was exactly the same in 5 years, would you be happy? If the answer is yes, get it, girl. I want to be you when I grow up. My answer is almost always no because I'm always working on bettering myself. But if the answer is no, don't get down about it. Just know you are in control and you are the only person that can do anything about it. So again, your life will go in the direction of your most dominant thoughts. So choose your thoughts wisely. Thanks for listening in today. It's the DBB. And as always, I can't wait to see where this goes. Be sure to share, by the way, I never say this. I need to work on it. Be sure to share this content if you find it valuable. I'm not trying to make money. I'm trying to help people. If you think this is something that would help somebody in your life, please share it because right now I'm just trying to grow the brand and get awareness out there and just touch as many people as I can. I had a friend, Aaron, if you're listening, tell me last week, I have some guy listeners, which I love. He told me he sent it to his sister and that she loved it and it helped her a lot. And that meant so much to me. But it's free and it takes 2 seconds to just share it to your story or post it on your Facebook or send the link from Spotify to a friend. Subscribing helps because right now I'm trying to get to the point you have to hit certain mile markers in a certain amount of time to be able to be pushed on these apps that I'm on, and also to eventually maybe get people who want to do ads with me so that I can start making money and put more time and effort into this and help more people, which is the ultimate goal. So if you find any value in any of this, please share it, please subscribe, please like it, please comment on it. I know it's like some people just want to mindlessly scroll and don't participate, but if you could, it would mean so much to me because I really want this to reach as many women and men as it possibly can. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great week and choose your thoughts wisely.